The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Eunice Indomitable, and Captain Daiho knew immediately that something was very wrong. The Galactic Distress Channel never activated unless things had gone beyond bad. He pressed the button and listened. A Nithran voice came through, high-pitched and terrified. Their colony ship, the Verdant Sphere, had suffered a complete reactor failure. 47,000 civilians were on board, mostly farmers and their families, children. The reactor would explode in 16 hours, maybe less. Daiho looked at his navigator, Minho, who was already running calculations. Minho shook his head slowly. The numbers were not good. We're 14 hours away at maximum burn, Minho said quietly. But Captain, our ship is old. The engines might not handle that kind of stress. And the radiation from their reactor, it will kill us. Daiho switched to the Galactic Council's emergency channel. Surely someone closer could help. Surely the Council would send their fastest ships. He listened as the Council held their emergency meeting. Ambassador after ambassador spoke. The Krillian representative pulled up cost charts and resource calculations. A rescue mission would be economically inefficient, she said coldly. We would lose more in ships and personnel than we would save. The Vexian ambassador agreed. These things happen in space. It is unfortunate but statistically inevitable. We should focus our resources elsewhere. Even the Etherians, who claim to value all life, voted to send only their sympathies. We will preserve their memory in our archives, their speaker said solemnly. Their legacy will not be forgotten. The vote was called. 847 species voted not to attempt a rescue. Only 3 voted yes. Humanity was one of them. Daiho turned off the channel. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. From anger. From disgust. 47,000 people were going to die, and the galaxy had decided it wasn't worth the effort to try. Captain? Nari, his chief engineer, stood in the doorway. Behind her, the rest of his crew had gathered. All 23 of them. They had been listening too. We can reach them, Daiho said. But Minho is right. The burn will probably destroy our engines, and the radiation from their failing reactor will be lethal. Even with our suits, we'll be exposed. Anyone who goes on that ship to help with the evacuation, they won't survive long. So we'll die, said Ji-young, the communications officer. She was only 26 years old. But they'll live. 47,000 of them. We should vote, Daiho said. This isn't my decision alone. If we do this, we all do it together. And we all know what it means, he looked at each face. Young Ji-young, old Bora, who had flown cargo ships for 40 years. Hyejin, their medical officer, who had a daughter back on Earth. Nari, who had turned down 3 better jobs to stay with this crew because they felt like family. All in favor of attempting rescue. Daiho said quietly. 23 hands went up. Every single one. Then we go, Daiho said. Minho, plot the fastest course. Nari, push the engines as hard as they'll take. Ji-young, send one message to Earth. Tell them we chose this. The Indomitable turned and burned hard. The old freighter shook and groaned, but she held together. Barely. Behind them, the galactic network exploded with chatter. The humans were attempting a rescue. The humans, who everyone considered primitive and foolish. The humans, whose technology was decades behind everyone else's. The humans were going to try. 14 hours later, with 47 minutes to spare before the reactor went critical, the Indomitable pulled alongside the Verdant Sphere. The Nithran ship was huge, easily 50 times their size, and it was dying. Radiation poured from its core like poison. Suits on, Daiho ordered. Nari, you and your team get to that reactor. Buy us time. Everyone else start evacuation procedures. Get the children first, then the injured, then everyone else. Move fast, move smart. And remember, every second counts. They moved. Nari and 3 engineers ran straight into the heart of the radiation, into the reactor room where the Nithran crew had already fled. She looked at the controls, at the failing systems, and got to work. Her hands moved fast, bypassing broken circuits, rerouting power, doing things that the manual said were impossible. I've got you 30 more minutes, she reported. Maybe 40 if we're lucky. That's all I can give you. It's enough, Daiho said. It has to be. The evacuation was chaos. 47,000 terrified Nithrans and only 23 humans to organize them. But Hyejin and Bora moved through the crowd like they had done this 1,000 times. Children first. The injured next.
Keep people calm.
Keep them moving. Don't stop. Don't think about the radiation counters climbing higher and higher. The Indomitable's cargo bays filled. then the crew quarters, then the hallways. Nithrans packed in shoulder to shoulder, holding their children, crying with relief and terror and gratitude. Last group. Bora's voice crackled over the radio. We're at capacity plus 50%. We can't fit anymore. Reactor's going critical, Nari reported. Her voice was calm, but Deho could hear the exhaustion in it. 2 minutes, maybe 3. Get out of there, Nari, Deho ordered. Everyone back to the Indomitable now, they ran. The last humans aboard the verdant sphere, running through hallways filled with radiation that their counters couldn't even measure anymore. Minho had the Indomitable ready, engines hot, ready to burn away the moment everyone was aboard. Deho did a final count. 46,847 Nithrans saved, 153 who had been too close to the reactor core, already dying from radiation before they even arrived. Not everyone could be saved, but almost everyone had been. Burn, Deho ordered. The Indomitable limped away, overloaded and damaged. Behind them, the verdant sphere exploded in silence, a brief bright star that faded to nothing. 3 hours later, Nari collapsed. Then 2 more engineers, then Bora, then others. The radiation had done its work. Hyejin moved among them, doing what she could, knowing it wasn't enough. Nothing could fix this kind of damage. By the time they reached the nearest council station, 17 of the crew were dead. The remaining 6, including Deho, had maybe weeks left, maybe days. The galaxy watched it all. Every moment had been broadcast on the emergency channels. Every species had seen what humanity did. 23 humans had given everything to save strangers who most of the galaxy had decided weren't worth saving. In the council chambers, for the first time in 10,000 years of recorded history, there was complete silence. 847 species, and not one of them could find words. On Council Station Epsilon, Deho sat in quarantine and looked at his remaining crew. Jiyoung, who would never see 27. Minho, who had plotted their course knowing it would kill them all. Hyejin, who would never see her daughter again. Did we do the right thing? Jiyoung asked quietly. Deho looked out the viewport at the Nithran survivors being taken to safety. Thousands of them, alive because 23 humans had decided they mattered. Yes, he said. We did. The medical quarantine room on Council Station Epsilon was quiet, except for the soft beeping of monitors. Deho lay in bed, watching his body slowly shut down. Across from him, Jiyoung slept fitfully. Next to her, Minho stared at the ceiling. In the other rooms, Hyejin tended to the 3 remaining crew members, even though she was dying too. They had been here for a week. Earth had sent representatives, ambassadors, scientists. Everyone offered sympathy. No one offered hope. Human medical technology couldn't fix radiation damage this severe. They had known this when they chose to go. They had made their peace with it. What they hadn't expected was the visitors. The first came on the 3rd day. The Nithran ambassador arrived with his entire delegation. They stood outside the quarantine window and their leader pressed his hand against the glass. You saved our farmers, he said. Our children. Our future. We cannot save you. Our biology is too different from yours. Our medicine doesn't work on human bodies. But we can give you something else. He held up a data chip. This contains every agricultural technique we have developed over 10,000 years. How to grow food in any environment. How to turn deserts into gardens. How to feed billions. It's worth more than our entire economy. We give it to Earth freely. Because you gave us everything. Deho tried to speak, but his voice was weak. You don't have to. Yes, the ambassador said firmly. We do. You taught us that some debts can never be repaid, but they must be honored. The next day, the Etherians came. Their medical technology was the most advanced in the galaxy, but their physiology was completely different from humans. They couldn't cure the radiation sickness. But their chief scientist stood before the quarantine window with tears in her large eyes. We voted to do nothing, she said quietly. We chose to let them die because it was easier. We are ashamed. We cannot fix what we failed to do, but we can ensure humans never face this helpless again. She presented 3 data cores, our complete medical database, radiation treatment, genetic repair, cellular regeneration, technology that took us 1,000,000 years to develop. It's yours. No payment, no contracts, just our deepest apology and our eternal gratitude. Then the flood began. The Cillians brought their quantum communication technology. So humans can call for help across any distance, their representative explained. So you never have to face danger alone again. The Morgothi, a species of massive beings who lived in high gravity, brought fusion reactor designs that were centuries beyond anything humanity had. For your ships, they said simply. So they never fail when you need them most. Even the Krillians came. The same species whose ambassador had called the rescue economically inefficient. Their new ambassador stood straight and spoke with something that sounded almost like shame. We Krillians understand. Strength, she said. We thought strength was taking what you want, keeping what you have. But you humans showed us different strength. The strength to give everything for strangers. We were wrong. She held up a small device. Gravitational manipulation technology. Our most guarded secret. We give it to you because we finally understand what strength really means. Species after species came. The quiet ones. The proud ones. The ones who had voted against rescue. They brought technology, knowledge, resources. Things worth trillions. Things that would advance human civilization by centuries. All of it freely given. On Earth, Ambassador Sanghi stood before the United Nations Assembly. Behind her, holographic displays showed the incoming gifts. Faster-than-light communication, advanced medicine, clean unlimited energy, agricultural miracles, weapons technology, defensive systems, manufacturing processes, AI systems, nanotechnology. They watched 23 of our people die, Sanghi said, her voice breaking. They watched us give everything to save strangers that most of them had voted to abandon. And they cannot understand why we did it, but they honor it. They respect it. And they want to ensure we never have to make that choice again. In the quarantine room, Deho watched it all on the monitors. The galaxy was changing because of what they did, but it didn't matter. He was still dying. His crew was still dying. The knowledge that their sacrifice meant something helped, but it didn't change the ending. On the 8th day, barely able to move, he recorded a message. His last message. It was broadcast across every channel in the galaxy. We didn't do this for reward, he said, his voice barely a whisper. We didn't do it for technology or trade deals or political favor. We did it because they needed help and we could give it. That's all. That's enough. If you want to honor us, don't build monuments. Don't name ships after us. Just remember that when someone needs help and you can give it, that's enough reason to try. The message went silent. The monitors showed his vital signs dropping. The medical staff prepared for the end. Earth mourned. The galaxy watched and waited. Then, on the 11th day, a ship appeared. It came from deep space, from a direction where no known civilization existed. It was small and smooth and made of materials that sensors couldn't identify. It docked at the station, and a single container was delivered to the medical bay. What is it? The station commander asked. Where did it come from? No one answered. The ship was already gone, vanished as mysteriously as it appeared. But the container remained. Inside was a device. The council's best scientists gathered to examine it. They couldn't understand how it worked. The technology was beyond anything they had ever seen. Beyond anything they could even imagine, but there were instructions, simple and clear in a language that resembled ancient human writing. It's a medical device, the head scientist announced, her voice shaking. It can repair cellular damage at the quantum level. It can reverse radiation poisoning completely. It can save them. Who sent it? Someone asked. There's no identification, no message. Just this symbol on the container. She held it up, a single character, ancient and simple. It meant gratitude. They used the device. Within hours, Deho's vital signs stabilized. Within days, he was sitting up. Within 2 weeks, all 6 surviving crew members were fully healed, their bodies showing no signs of the radiation that should have killed them. Who saved us? Ji-young asked. She was young again, her face no longer gray with radiation sickness. Who sent that device? We don't know, Deho admitted. But someone out there wanted us to live. Someone who understands gratitude. Someone who knows that kindness deserves kindness in return. The galaxy searched for the mysterious ship, but it was never found. No species claimed responsibility. The technology in the device was studied but never fully understood. It was too advanced, too perfect, too impossible. But the message was clear. Somewhere in the universe, someone had been watching. Someone had seen what humanity did. And they had responded with the same compassion that Deho and his crew had shown. 3 months later, Daeho stood on the bridge of a new ship, built with the gifted technologies from dozens of species. It was fast and strong and beautiful. The crew was larger now, 50 humans, trained and ready, but before they launched on their first mission, he gathered them together. "We have been given gifts beyond measure," he said. "Not because we asked for them, not because we deserved them, but because we showed the galaxy that compassion still exists, that sacrifice still means something, that strangers are worth saving." He looked at each face, young and old, experienced and new, all of them volunteers, all of them ready. Now it's our turn to give back, not just to those who helped us, but to anyone who needs it. Because that's what this is really about, not the technology, not the ships. The choice to help when help is needed, that's what changes everything. The crew stood at attention, ready, willing, understanding. And across the galaxy, other species watched and learned. The humans had been given everything they needed to become powerful. Now everyone would see what they chose to do with that power. Minho stood on the bridge of the UNIS Horizon, flagship of humanity's deep space defense fleet. Through the viewport, 47 human ships hung in formation, each one a masterpiece of combined technology. Nithran agricultural systems kept the crews fed on journeys lasting years. Morgathi fusion cores provided unlimited power. Krillian gravitational drives made them faster than anything else in space. Etherian medical bays ensured no one died from injuries that could be healed. But the ships were still human in spirit. Adaptable, creative, unpredictable, they could do things their alien designers never imagined, because humans had a gift for taking what they were given and making it better. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we're receiving an emergency signal from the Outer Rim. Multiple agricultural worlds reporting a fast-spreading plague. Crops are dying. Billions will starve if it continues." Minho pulled up the data. 17 worlds affected so far. The plague was spreading faster than anyone could contain it. The council was already holding emergency sessions. "Get me Dr. Hyejin," Minho ordered. Across the galaxy, on Medical Station Unity, Hyejin was already preparing her teams. The former medical officer of the Indomitable now commanded the largest emergency response network in known space. Human medical teams trained in techniques from 100 different species, ready to deploy anywhere help was needed. "We're launching in 1 hour," she told Minho over the comm. "I've got teams ready for all 17 worlds." "But Minho, this plague, it's not natural. The pattern is too perfect. Someone engineered this." "The Krillians," Minho said quietly. "They're the only ones who benefit from this." He was right. Within hours, Krillian ambassadors were offering aid to the dying worlds. But their aid came with prices. Territorial rights, trade monopolies, contracts that would effectively enslave entire populations for generations. "They created the plague so they could profit from curing it," Hyejin said, her voice tight with anger. "They're holding billions hostage." On Earth, President Tajin called an emergency session of the Human Council. Ambassador Daeho attended, older now but still sharp. He listened as the military advisors presented options. Economic sanctions, political pressure, even military intervention if needed. "No," Daeho said quietly. "We don't fight them. We show them a better way." "What do you suggest?" Tajin asked. "We help. No payment. No contracts. No conditions. Just like the galaxy helped us 20 years ago. We remind them what compassion looks like." President Tajin nodded slowly. Then he addressed the Galactic Council directly, his message broadcast to every world. "Humanity offers aid to all affected worlds. Our medical teams will cure the plague. Our agricultural experts will restore the crops. We ask for nothing in return. No territories, no trade deals, no political favors. We do this because it's right. Because 20 years ago you taught us that kindness should be answered with kindness." The galaxy watched. The Krillians protested loudly. "This is interference. These worlds have already agreed to our terms. They agreed because they were desperate," Daeho responded calmly. "Now they have a choice. Your help with strings attached or ours freely given. Let them decide." Within 2 days, human medical ships arrived at every affected world. Hyejin's teams worked around the clock, treating the sick, analyzing the plague, developing cures. On the agricultural worlds, Yunji led teams of specialists using techniques the Nithrans had taught humanity decades ago, now enhanced and improved by human innovation. The plague was indeed engineered, designed to destroy crops but leave people alive to suffer. But human scientists working with Etherian medical knowledge and Nithran agricultural expertise developed a counter-agent in 3 days. What the Krillians had designed to be incurable was solved by species working together. The affected worlds began to heal. Crops grew again. People stopped starving. And the Krillian contracts were quietly torn up, their terms rejected now that there were alternatives. The Krillian Empire was furious. They had lost trillions in potential profit. They had been humiliated, and they decided to make humans pay. The Outer Rim is now under Krillian protection, their supreme commander declared. All foreign vessels must leave immediately or be destroyed. This includes the human medical ships and aid workers. A blockade formed. 300 Krillian warships, the most powerful military force in the galaxy, surrounding 17 worlds, trapping human aid workers along with billions of civilians. You have 12 hours to leave, the Krillian commander broadcast. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war. On the surface of one of the blockaded worlds, Hijin looked at her team. Young doctors and nurses, many of them barely out of training. They had signed up to save lives, not to face down battleships. We should probably evacuate, one of them said nervously. We've done what we came to do. The plague is cured, but these people still need medical care, Hijin said quietly. The plague damaged a lot of bodies. Many are still recovering. If we leave now, thousands will die. What do we do? Another asked. Hijin smiled. We stay, we help, and we trust that humanity won't abandon us, just like we didn't abandon the Nithrans 20 years ago. 8 hours later, Admiral Minho's fleet arrived at the blockade. 47 human warships against 300 Krillian battleships. The math was not good. This is Admiral Minho of the UNS Horizon, he broadcast on all channels. We are here to retrieve our people and continue providing medical aid to these worlds. We do not seek conflict. We will not fire first, but we will not abandon those who need us. You cannot win this fight, the Krillian commander responded. Leave now or we will destroy you. We learned something 20 years ago, Minho said calmly. We learned that doing the right thing matters more than doing the safe thing. These people need help. Our people are helping them. We're not leaving. The standoff began. For 3 days, the fleets faced each other. The galaxy watched and waited. The council held emergency sessions but couldn't agree on action. Some species supported humanity. Others feared the Krillian military. Most just wanted the crisis to end without war. Then, on the 3rd day, something changed. A Nithran fleet arrived. Not military ships, they had no military, but colony vessels, agricultural ships, civilian transports, hundreds of them. They positioned themselves beside the human fleet. The humans saved 46,000 of our people, the Nithran ambassador announced. When no one else would try, we stand with them now. Then the Etherians arrived, their medical ships and science vessels forming up in support. We gave humans our medical knowledge. Now we stand behind them as they use it to save lives. The Silians came next, the Morgothi, species after species arriving to support humanity, not with weapons, most of them, just with presence, with solidarity, with the message that what humanity was doing mattered. Even some Krillian ships broke formation. Their captains, remembering what humanity had shown the galaxy, refused to fire on those who were only trying to help. The Krillian Supreme Commander watched his blockade crumble, watched his own people defect, watched the galaxy unite behind a principle his species had forgotten, that compassion was strength, not weakness. Stand down, he finally ordered. All ships returned to Krillian space. The blockade dissolved. The human medical teams continued their work, and the galaxy had learned another lesson. That humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ships or their technology. It was their unwillingness to abandon those who needed help, no matter the cost. On the bridge of the horizon, Minho allowed himself a small smile. They had won without firing a shot, just like 23 humans had changed the galaxy by refusing to walk away from dying strangers. Now the whole galaxy had learned to do the same. The ripple was becoming a wave. And nothing would ever be the same. The Galactic Council chambers had changed. Where there had once been empty protocol and cold calculation, there was now something different, something new. A principle that had been carved into the wall in letters 10 feet high. Aid first. Politics never. Ambassador Diho walked slowly through the halls, his age finally starting to show. He was 70 now, saved from death by mysterious technology and sustained by purpose. The crew of the Indomitable had all taken positions of importance. Minho commanded the fleet. Hijin led medical services. Jiung ran communications networks across 40 systems. They had lived the borrowed time well. But today, Daeho had been summoned by someone unexpected. A young human researcher named Jihoon, who worked in the Council's historical archives. "Ambassador, I found something," Jihoon said nervously. He was barely 25, fresh out of university and clearly uncomfortable approaching such a legend. "Something about the ship that saved you and your crew. The one with the medical device." Daeho leaned forward. For 40 years that mystery had remained unsolved. No species claimed the ship. The technology was beyond anything the Council had ever seen. It had simply appeared, saved them, and vanished. "What did you find?" Daeho asked. Jihoon pulled up ancient files, some of them millions of years old. "There was a species called the Velther. They existed 50,000 years ago. They were incredibly advanced, but they weren't conquerors. They tried to unite the galaxy through compassion, through helping others." "What happened to them?" Daeho asked, though he suspected he already knew. "They were destroyed," Jihoon said quietly, "by the very species they tried to help. The galaxy saw their compassion as weakness, exploited it, attacked them when they were vulnerable. The Velther fought back eventually, but by then it was too late. Their civilization fell. The records say they went extinct 30,000 years ago. But you don't think they're extinct," Daeho said. "The ship that saved you," Jihoon said, pulling up images. "I compared its design to ancient Velther artifacts. Ambassador, it's a match. And that symbol on the container, the one meaning gratitude, it's Velther script." Daeho sat back, his mind racing. The Velther weren't extinct. They had been watching, waiting. And they had saved his crew because, why, the answer came 3 days later when a ship appeared in Council space. It was the same design as the one that had saved them 40 years ago. But this time it didn't vanish. It docked at the main station and sent a message. "We wish to speak with Ambassador Daeho." The Council chambers were packed. Every species wanted to see the Velther, the ancient race thought dead, the ones whose technology was beyond comprehension. Security was heavy. No one knew what to expect. 3 beings entered. They were tall and thin, their skin like pale silver, their eyes large and dark. They moved with grace but also with caution, like animals that had learned to fear. Their speaker approached Daeho. "Ambassador, we have watched your species for 40 years. Before that, we watched the galaxy for 30,000 years, waiting for a sign that compassion could survive, that kindness could exist without being exploited. You and your crew gave us that sign. Why did you hide?" Daeho asked gently. "Why let everyone think you were extinct?" The speaker's expression was sad. "Because we tried to help this galaxy once. We gave freely. We healed, we taught, we protected. And we were destroyed for it. Species saw our compassion as weakness. They took our gifts and then took our worlds. We learned that kindness is not always rewarded. Sometimes it is punished. So you hid," Daeho said, watching, "waiting for someone to prove that things could be different." "Yes," the speaker said. "We saw your ship racing toward the Nithrans. We saw you choosing death to save strangers, and we knew we had to help. We had to see what you would become if given the chance. Would you use the galaxy's gifts for conquest? For power? Or would you do what we failed to do, prove that compassion is strength?" "And what did you see?" Daeho asked. "Hope," the speaker said simply. "For the first time in 30,000 years we saw hope. You proved that kindness can survive in this galaxy, that compassion can be strong, that sacrifice can change everything." The council chambers were silent, every ambassador, every representative understanding the weight of this moment. "But we bring more than just our gratitude," the speaker continued, and now their voice held fear. "We bring a warning. The threat that nearly destroyed the galaxy 50,000 years ago, it's awakening." They showed images. Ancient machines, vast beyond comprehension, hanging in the darkness between galaxies. The Devourers, they were called. A machine intelligence created long ago by a species now forgotten. Their purpose, to eliminate all biological life as inefficient, wasteful, illogical. "We fought them 50,000 years ago," the speaker explained. "The entire galaxy united, but we could not destroy them. We could only imprison them, lock them away in quantum fields that would hold them forever. Or so we thought." "The prison is failing," Daeho said quietly. It wasn't a question. "Yes, within a year, maybe 2, they will break free. And when they do, they will finish what they started. They will consume every biological world, every living being. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be bargained with. They only understand efficiency, and life is inefficient. The council erupted in panic. Questions shouted over questions. Demands for proof. Accusations that this was a trick. Fear drowning out reason. Deho stood. His voice cut through the chaos. Quiet. The chambers fell silent. Even after 40 years, when Deho spoke, people listened. The Velther could have revealed themselves at any time, Deho said. They could have demanded gratitude for saving my crew. They could have asked for payment, for tribute, for recognition. Instead, they waited. They watched. They wanted to see what we would become. They showed us the same respect we tried to show the Nithrans, the belief that we could be better than we were. He looked at the speaker. You said you saw hope in humanity, but you're not asking us to fight alone, are you? You're asking if the galaxy has learned what we tried to teach it, that we're stronger together, that compassion isn't weakness, that sacrifice for others is the greatest strength. The speaker nodded slowly. We are too few now, too diminished. We cannot fight the devourers alone. We need the galaxy to be what it should have been 50,000 years ago. United, willing to sacrifice for each other, believing that all life is worth protecting. How long do we have? Asked the Krillian ambassador, the same one who had once blockaded the outer rim. 18 months, the speaker said. Maybe less. They are already weakening the prison. When they break free, they will target the most populated worlds first. Maximum efficiency in eliminating biological life. Then we have 18 months to prepare, Deho said. 18 months to prove that the galaxy has changed, that we can stand together, that what humanity started 40 years ago wasn't just one act of compassion. It was the beginning of something bigger. He looked around the chamber, at species that had once voted to abandon dying civilians, at empires that had tried to exploit tragedy for profit, at civilizations that had learned slowly and painfully that compassion wasn't weakness. 40 years ago, 23 humans chose to die rather than let strangers suffer, Deho said. The galaxy responded with unprecedented generosity. You gave us everything we needed to become strong. Now we face something that wants to destroy all life in the galaxy. And I'm asking, have we learned enough? Are we ready to be what the Velther hoped we could be? Silence, then slowly the Nithran ambassador stood. Humanity saved us when no one else would. We stand with them now. Against any threat, the Etherian rose. We gave humanity our medicine because we were ashamed we did nothing. We will not fail again. One by one, ambassadors stood. Even the Krillian, who had learned the hard way what true strength meant. Species after species, pledging to stand together, to fight together, to prove that life was worth defending even at great cost. The Velther speaker watched with tears in their dark eyes. You have no idea how long we have waited to see this, how much we hoped it was possible. Then let's not waste time, Deho said. We have a galaxy to save, and this time we do it together. The War Council began immediately. 18 months to prepare for an enemy that had nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. 18 months to prove that compassion could defeat cold logic. 18 months to show that life, messy, inefficient, beautiful life, was worth fighting for. And as Deho left the chambers, the Velther speaker approached him one last time. Thank you, they said quietly, for giving us hope again, for showing us that what we tried to do 50,000 years ago wasn't foolish. Just early, Deho smiled. No. Thank you for believing we could be better. Sometimes that's all people need, someone to believe in them. 16 months of preparation. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Shipyards working around the clock on every civilized world. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years now sharing technology, combining resources, training together. The Velther contributed designs from their golden age. Humans adapted and improved them. Every species brought their best. Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of the horizon and looked at the fleet assembled around him. 7,000 ships from 47 species. It was beautiful and terrifying, the largest military force ever gathered, and it might not be enough. The prison is collapsing faster than predicted, the Velther speaker reported. The Devourers will break free within hours, not days. And their first target, it's the Nithran homeworld. Of course it was. The machines were logical, calculating. Strike at the agricultural heart of the galaxy, Destroy the farms. Let billions starve while fighting a war. It was efficient. It was cruel. It was perfectly rational. All ships, Minho broadcast. We move to defend the Nithran homeworld, maximum speed. They arrived just as the Devourers broke free. The machines emerged from their quantum prison like nightmares made metal. Ships the size of moons, dark and geometric and wrong. They moved with perfect coordination, every action calculated for maximum efficiency. There was no wasted movement, no hesitation, no fear. All hands, battle stations, Minho ordered. His voice was calm, but his hands gripped his chair tight. Remember what we're fighting for. Remember who we are. We don't fight for victory. We fight because it's right. The battle began. The Devourers attacked with mathematical precision, every shot calculated, every movement optimized. They were perfect warriors, and they were winning. Ship after ship fell to their relentless assault, but the Galactic fleet had something the machines couldn't calculate. They had heart. When the Devourers broke through the left flank, a young captain named Somin didn't hesitate. She had grown up on stories of the indomitable, stories of 23 humans who gave everything to save strangers. She knew what to do. All crew to escape pods, she ordered. Then she aimed her destroyer at the Devourer command ship and engaged full thrust. The impact bought 7 minutes. 7 minutes for the fleet to regroup. 7 minutes that cost one ship and one captain who understood that some things mattered more than survival. The Nithrans used those minutes. Their colony ships, not built for war, used their mass to shield the smaller combat vessels. Agricultural ships became battering rams. Civilian captains became heroes. Every minute mattered. Every sacrifice counted. When the Horizon's shields failed and engines died, Minho prepared for the end. But a Krillian battleship moved between them and the Devourer attack. Its captain Vexter broadcast as his ship took the hit meant for humans. We Krillians thought strength was taking what you want, he said as his ship burned. But the humans taught us different. Real strength is standing for those who can't stand alone. It has been an honor. The battle raged for 73 hours. The Devourers should have won. The math was clear. The logic was perfect. But they couldn't calculate for compassion, for sacrifice, for species throwing themselves into danger to protect others. On Medical Station Unity, Dr. Hejan worked with Velthor scientists and researchers from a dozen species. The Devourers were machines, but they were controlled by quantum processors that operated on pure logic. Logic that had no formula for why biological beings would die for strangers. What if we could introduce an equation they can't solve? Asked a young Etherian scientist. Something that breaks their logic? Compassion, Hejan said quietly. We give them compassion. We show them beings dying to save strangers, sacrificing efficiency for kindness. Every action in this battle is illogical to them. Every sacrifice is impossible to calculate. What if we could weaponize that? Turn their logic against them? They worked for 30 hours straight, creating not a weapon, but a virus, a quantum program that would flood the Devourer network with one simple, impossible concept: beings choosing to die for others. The math didn't work, the logic failed, the efficiency was negative. But it kept happening, over and over. Species helping species, the weak protecting the strong, the logical protecting the illogical. It's ready, Hejan announced, but someone has to deliver it directly to their central nexus, right into the heart of their fleet. The shields are too strong for a missile. It has to be hand-delivered. I'll do it, Diho said. The old ambassador had been listening from the command center. I'm 80 years old. I should have died 60 years ago in that radiation. Everything since has been borrowed time. Let me spend it well. Ambassador, no, Minho protested. We can send someone else. You've done enough. No one has ever done enough, Diho said gently. That's the point. We keep trying. We keep giving. That's what makes us alive. That's what the machines can never understand. They gave him the fastest shuttle they had, armed it with the best shields available, and 7,000 ships created a corridor through the Devourer fleet, each one Taking damage to protect the shuttle carrying one old man with a weapon made of compassion, Daiho flew through hell. Ships exploded around him. Friends died protecting him. Species he had never met gave their lives so he could reach the Nexus. It was inefficient. It was illogical. It was beautiful. He reached the central ship, docked, and walked alone through corridors of metal and darkness to reach the quantum processor at the ship's heart. The virus was uploaded. The program launched. The Devourer's network was flooded with images. Species dying for others. Humans sacrificing for Nithrans. Nithrans protecting humans. Krillians shielding their former enemies. Over and over. The logical saving the illogical. The efficient protecting the inefficient. Why? 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 The machines tried to calculate, tried to understand, but there was no formula for love, no equation for sacrifice, no logic that explained why beings would choose to die for strangers. The virus spread through their network, not with violence but with a question they could never answer. The quantum processors, confronted with the mathematical impossibility of compassion, could not reconcile it, could not process it, could not survive it. One by one, the Devourer ships went dark. Their perfect logic corrupted by the illogical. Their perfect efficiency destroyed by the inefficient. Their perfect calculations broken by something that should not exist but did. Beings who cared more about others than themselves. In the command nexus, Daiho sat and waited. He expected to die here, expected the ship to explode or the machines to kill him. But instead, the lights came on, the shuttle bay opened, and Admiral Minho's voice came through his comm. "Ambassador, we're coming to get you, just like you came for the Nithran 60 years ago. Just like we always do. We don't leave people behind." They brought him home, through cheering crowds on every ship, past the wreckage of 7,000 vessels, 3,000 of which would never fly again, past the survivors who had learned what their parents and grandparents had learned 60 years ago, that compassion was stronger than logic, that sacrifice changed everything, that life, in all its messy inefficiency, was worth protecting. 10 years later, the council chambers had been rebuilt, expanded, made beautiful. On every wall were names, humans and Nithrans and Krillians and 44 other species. Thousands of names. Those who gave everything in the battle against the Devourers. The hall was called the Hall of Remembrance, and every child in the galaxy learned the stories told there. Stories of Captain Soman, who bought 7 minutes with her ship. Stories of Captain Vexter, who learned that strength meant protecting others. Stories of the Velthur, who waited 30,000 years for hope and found it in the most unlikely species. But the first story, the one told before all others, was about 23 humans on an old freighter. About a captain named Daiho, who chose to save strangers. About a crew who voted unanimously to die so others could live. About humanity showing the galaxy what compassion looked like. At his retirement ceremony, Daiho stood before representatives from every council species. They wanted to give him medals, titles, monuments. He refused them all. Instead, he told them one last story. 60 years ago, my crew and I made a choice. We chose to help when help was needed. We expected nothing in return. We expected to die. Instead, you responded with the greatest generosity any species has ever shown. You gave us technology, knowledge, hope. Not because you had to, because you wanted to. Because you chose compassion over calculation. He looked around the chamber, at young faces and old, at species who had been enemies and were now friends, at a galaxy that had learned, slowly and painfully, what real strength meant. That's what saved us from the Devourers. Not weapons, not ships, not technology. The choice to care about others, the willingness to sacrifice for strangers. That's what the machines could never understand. That's what makes life worth living. He paused. Humanity isn't special because we're stronger or smarter. We're special because we proved that compassion isn't weakness. It's the strongest force in the universe. And we reminded you all how to feel it, how to live it, how to be it. The galaxy has changed, not because humans demanded it, but because we showed what was possible. We showed that strangers are worth saving, that sacrifice matters,